Hi everyone, Simon Chappell here. I'm the Quit Alcohol Coach, and as you probably know, I'm here to help you smash your sobriety. I've even got my Sober AF t-shirt on today. If you don't know what that means, well, it either means sober, alcohol free, or sober as something else. You can fill the blanks in, it's up to you. So today I wanted to talk about how to bounce back from a setback so you don't keep having day one over and over again. I know how frustrating this, and Jenny, who was on a live Q&A over the weekend, asked this question, and I was giving her the answer, but I was kind of running out of time on the Q&A, and you guys know how much I can talk. So I said to her, I will answer that in my next YouTube video. So you know what it's like. You've had a few days off of drinking. You're feeling committed, like I want to move to an alcohol-free life. And then your friends ask you out, or your workmates say, let's go for after works drinks on a Friday. And next thing you know, you're thinking, well, one won't hurt. And before you know it, you're right back down the rabbit hole. You're back to day one. How do you stop that happening? How do you get to a place where day one becomes week one, becomes month one, becomes year one, and you just move into a place where you're completely free of alcohol? Now, I've spoken loads before about changing your mindset, move into a place where you're really passionate about what you're doing and you're excited about it. But I wanted to share some really practical tips and also give you some things to think about in this as well. So when you quit drinking, most people experience a level of anxiety or fear. They're scared that they might not do it. They might go back to drinking again. And it can be that anxiety and that fear that actually leads us back to drinking, because we're trying to subconsciously suppress those feelings, make them go away, and it leads to discomfort. It overwhelms us. The next thing, we're taking a drink. And that anxiety can manifest itself in cravings, in all sorts of uncomfortable feelings. So try and get some clarity about exactly what those feelings are. Where are they coming from? Once you've got them out in the light, you can explore them a lot better. But the big thing with fear and anxiety is knowing what the cure is, knowing what the antidote is. And I'm going to tell you what that is right now. But I'm going to tell you a nursery rhyme first, and you're going to think, what the hell is he going on about? Remember Little Red Riding Hood? So she's this innocent girl, and she's walking through the dense woods. She's going to see her wise old grandmother. The grandmother who shows her the way, who teaches her things, who shares love with her and helps her through the tough times, I'm sure. But while she's walking through the woods, she's been stalked by this big bad wolf. The wolf is fear. The wolf is anxiety. The wolf is uncomfortable feelings. The wolf stalks her the whole way there, and eventually she gets to her grandmother's house, but the wolf has beaten her to it. The wolf has already eaten her grandmother and dressed in the grandmother's clothes. He's going to trick Little Red Riding Hood. And sure, he does. And he starts to eat her too. But before long, a wood chopper turns up on the scene with a giant axe. And the wood chopper, full of courage, kills the wolf, gets the grandmother out of the wolf's belly. I don't know how she didn't die, but you'll have to go with me on that one. I didn't write the nursery rhyme. And saves Little Red Riding Hood too. So what's that got to do with quitting drinking, I hear you ask? Quite a lot, actually, because this is all about overcoming the fear, the anxiety, the worry, the uncertainty, the discomfort. Let's just break this down a little bit more. There was a story I heard actually quite recently, and it really resonated with me. Little Red Riding Hood is innocence. She's on a path to learning, a path to growth. Her grandmother is wisdom. She teaches her. She helps her. She makes her see things rationally. The wolf is fear, anxiety, uncomfortable feelings, and all of those other things that come up. The cure, the antidote, is courage, the wood chopper. Courage is the antidote to fear and anxiety. And that's what you need to overcome it. Courage wins every time. What doesn't win is further discomfort, more anxiety, telling yourself stories, making things up in your head, and on it goes. That's like adding another wolf into the equation. You can't fight anxiety with more anxiety. You can't fight fear with worry. Courage is what you need. And sometimes you do just have to stand on the edge of that cliff, and it kind of looks high up, and you got to jump. You got to jump with both feet. knowing that, yeah, the water below looks really nice, but it looks a long way down. Courage kills anxiety and fear. I can't say it any clearer. And sometimes you do need that little bit of courage. And I don't mean be reckless with anything. I mean courage when it's right, courage when you need to step up, courage when you want to improve your life and change something. And that's what you need on that day one. It takes a bit of courage, and day two takes a little bit of courage as well. But when you find that, and yeah, you got to dig a little bit deep sometimes, and you start getting through those days, it gets easier and easier. You've got to believe me on that. But the way you kill the fear, the way you kill the worry, the way you kill the anxiety is by getting your courage out and starting to be more courageous with it. Now, the second thing is that you can get hit hard when you have a setback or a slip up and start to feel like you're beating yourself up. You feel guilty. You might feel a sense of shame. You might start telling yourself you can't ever do this. You've got to reframe those things. You've got to use them as motivation to show yourself, well, look how I am. This isn't how I want to be. And this is just another sign that I need to change. I need to find that inner strength. I need to show some courage. And even if it means just gritting my teeth for a couple of days to get through the tough bit, to get through a couple of sleepless nights before it starts to gently get easier, that's what I'm going to need to do. I'm going to use those feelings that I'm having right now on where I slipped up on a day one to grow stronger. And I'm going to learn from everything that I experienced, and I'm going to put things in place around me so that I can't have a drink again. What did I learn from that? What's the data that I gathered? And more importantly, instead of thinking of it as a setback or a slip up or a relapse, which I hate that word, why don't you think of it as falling forwards? You're still here, you're still showing up, you're still watching these videos, you're still learning. So there's forwards momentum. Sure, you've had a setback and you're doing something about it right now by listening to this. So you're falling forwards. It sounds a whole lot better than I've had a relapse, which to me just doesn't resonate. That's not a label I would want. And you can choose your own labels. You can be who you want to be on this journey. Nothing has to define you, and you can choose whatever label you want. You might not want any labels. I've got Sober AF as my label today, and that's fine, but it doesn't define me. And you also need to know that it's a stepping stone. Yes, you've had a setback, you've fallen forwards. It's a stepping stone, and this is a journey. Everybody, almost without exception, has setbacks and slip-ups and falls forward. But we learn and we grow. So having a level of acceptance that you are going to have a few attempts at day one before you start having day two, week two, month three, etc., will put you in a place where you really know that that's probably something that's part of it, part of the learning process and part of the journey to growth and to being free from alcohol. So another tip to ensure you don't have more day ones, if you're watching this after having 10 or 20 or 30 already, I know for me it was definitely double figures, maybe triple figures. Get into some online programs, get yourself an alcohol coach if you need one, or find a mentor. Get that extra level of connection. So there's alcohol coaches out there. I do alcohol coaching, although right now I don't have any capacity, but there's loads of really good ones. I'm always happy to make a recommendation. There's online programs like the Alcohol Experiment. There's a free version, thealcoholexperiment.com, which you can do. It holds your hand day by day with daily videos, daily accountability. You can take notes, you can journal. That is an excellent tool that's going to strengthen you and help to set you up for success. Or you might connect with people in Facebook groups. You might find an accountability partner, or you might mentor with somebody, buddy up with somebody, and you might find a mentor, or you might work hand in hand together at pretty much the same stage in the journey, whatever works for you. But don't try going it alone. And equally, you can call on your close friends and your loved ones. Again, don't go this alone. There's people out there who will want to support you. They'll want to help you through this. And some people feel a sense of shame. They feel that it's shameful if I talk to anyone about this. And it's absolutely not true. There's no shame in sobriety. 95% of people, if you take out people who drink for religious reasons, 95% of people in the Western world drink. Most of them to one degree or another are on the spectrum of alcohol use disorder. You know, if you said to them, could you live without alcohol in your life? They would probably say no. So surely that puts them on the spectrum somewhere, because they're saying they can't live without it. Most of them are. There's no shame in this. See it that you're becoming part of a revolution, part of a movement. The alcohol-free movement is massive and it's amazing. And there's so many wonderful people in it. Surround yourself in that, immerse yourself in it, but do connect with the closest people around you. And if you're afraid of talking to them, afraid of sending that message or picking up the phone, remember what I said about Little Red Riding Hood. Courage. Courage overcomes fear, and you won't regret it. You'll feel really proud afterwards, and you'll feel like you've got an arm around your shoulder to help you down the path to freedom from drinking. Now, you also need to know that you're going to need to learn how to let cravings and uncomfortable feelings pass you by. Knowing that you can sit with those feelings and not let them control your actions is incredibly powerful. Once you've done that the first or second time, you realize that you've actually got some control in all of this. So instead of going on autopilot and thinking, well, the voice is in my head again, I've got to just give up, give in and go and get the bottle of wine, sit with it or disrupt it by going to do something else. My last video on the YouTube channel was how to stop alcohol cravings in their tracks. Watch that. It's an excellent tactic to allow you to become very mindful when you're having those thoughts, and how to stop them, how to make a choice partway through if you want. But knowing that they're a bit like storm clouds in the sky. They come along and they hang around for a while. Sometimes they might hang around for a few hours. I know there was ones I had, and they stayed until I went to bed. And then they were gone when I woke up in the morning and it was clear. And then I might have some more come back the next day. But as time went by, they came less and less frequently. You need to know that the heaviest storms come at the start. And then they kind of get bored because you're not paying them attention, and they go and bother somebody else because you're just not interacting with them any longer. It's like you're starving them of their energy by not playing. So know that they will come, but know that you do have the power to sit with them and that you don't have to act on them or react to them. That's a really important skill to learn. There's some awesome videos on my channel and all over YouTube about how to sit with uncomfortable feelings. Educate yourself on it. Learn about it. It's a bit like learning a skill. The better at it you become, the easier you're going to find it to never have a day one again. And another important thing that you should do is put some obstacles in your way. So let's say tomorrow's your next day one and you've got your mindset feeling good. You're really feeling excited about it. And you might have had a bunch of day ones in the past, but this time you really want to make it work. You need to take some practical steps. Now that might be getting rid of the alcohol in the house and also making sure you can't get more, and actually being honest with yourself about how far you would be willing to go and get alcohol. If you've got a shop or a store on the corner of your street, what's to stop you going there? Can you put something in place where you become accountable to somebody? Maybe you could put your phone location on and share it with somebody who's supporting you, and agree to message them if you decide to walk out the front door to go and get more alcohol. You could also write a letter to yourself, and that letter could say, if you're reading this, you're in the middle of one of those storms right now. You've got some tough feelings going on, but know that it will pass. Remind yourself of how much you want this, how good it really is, and give some instructions to yourself while you're in the middle of the storm, and put that letter in an envelope and don't open it unless you're really feeling that you're going to take a drink. I've had some people put a video on their phone of them talking to themselves, and that video is only to be watched when the storm is really raging and they're finding it really, really hard not to resist. So those sort of tactics can be super helpful. And again, there's a ton of tactics on my channel, and I recommend you subscribe to the channel so that you get updated every Tuesday, every Thursday. There's new videos with tactics, tools and techniques and advice for quitting drinking. So yeah, make sure you hit subscribe so that you're up to date with everything and you don't miss any. Now, you need to know there are going to be times where you're going to need some willpower. Yes, you've got some tactics, you've got some tools. Your mind is in the right place. You're feeling confident about what you're going to do. You now know how to deal with fear and anxiety. The antidote is courage. It really is courage and being brave. But there will still be times at the start where you are going to need a bit of willpower. You're going to need to grit your teeth and you're going to need to hang on in there a little bit. And that's where knowing that the thoughts, the discomfort, the storm clouds, they pass. Believe me, they pass. I promise you, without exception. And it's so important for you to know that. And you do have to take a little bit of a leap of faith and believe in everything you've heard. Believe in everything you've read about how much better life is when you haven't got alcohol in it, and know that you're doing this for you to move to a far better place instead of keep treading down the path that can lead to a life of destruction and a life of misery. You're treading a new path. And sure, that new path right now, it's not even there. You can't even see it because the brambles and the stinging nettles are overgrown. And you need to tread that down and form a new neural pathway in your brain. And sure, you're going to scratch your legs a little bit on the way. And it might feel kind of tough trampling that down the first few times. But the more you take that path, the more this new path is going to become clear and easy to walk down. And you know at the end of that path, is paradise, a better life. The old path doesn't lead to a good place. The less frequently you walk down that, the more that's going to become overgrown and your habit is going to change. You're going to autopilot down that new path. And the last couple of things, when you do have a slip up, try and look on the bright side. I know it can seem hard, but it's showing us where we need to improve. It can really hone us in on the areas that are a trigger or the cravings that we're giving into. I've had a few people say to me recently that when they cook their dinner, that's a time when they're drinking, or when they're alone in the house, that's a time when they're drinking. But getting that data and knowing it then allows you to do something about it. So maybe you cook your dinner at lunchtime and you warm it up later instead of cooking it at 6 or 7 p.m. when there's a huge temptation to pour a glass of wine. You've got to look after yourself in this. I can give you all the information, but again, courage. This has got to come from within. I can't make you take the action. I can only share with you my own experiences and the tactics that I've known have worked for thousands of other people. And it's for you to do with them what you will. But do try and take some comfort in the fact that you will learn from those multiple day ones. And believe me, if you take this on board, this can be your last day one. This can be the start of a new beginning where you start writing your new story. And that's what I want you to do. The last thing I'd like you to do is check out a story by Claire Pooley, who wrote The Sober Diaries, which is an awesome book. The story is called The Obstacle Course, and it is fantastic. It's all about multiple day ones, struggling to get through day one. I'm going to put a link to it in the description right under this video. So you'll just better click that and go straight there. Obviously, subscribe to my channel before you do that, please. Thank you. And have a read of it. I think it will resonate with you and it will really help set you up for success. And hopefully the tips I've shared today are going to also get you on the right track, treading down that new path. But instead of scratching your legs and feeling the stinging nettles, this should set you up with some pretty good hiking gear that's going to protect your legs and give you a nice set of sturdy boots. So you can start treading down that grass, treading down the brambles and the stinging nettles and forming a new neural pathway in your mind that's going to lead you to a good place. And that's going to start you changing your habit. And it doesn't take long for that habit to start changing and for that new habit to become your new normal. And that's so important. And finally, it gets easier. Believe me, it gets easier. The first couple of days feel like the hardest. Then the rest of the week, it gets a bit easier. There's still some tough times. Get past 10 days, it gets easier still. And it gets easier and easier and easier. And sure, we can still have bumps in the road. We can still have the odd setback and fall forward yet again. But if you've got the tools, the information, and everything you need in terms of support and accountability around you, you just reach back on that. You lean back into it. You get yourself up and you go again. But I firmly believe that if you listen to this advice, you check out some of the other videos about the specific areas that apply to you, where you might need some strengthening or a little bit of work, this can be your last day one. And that is absolutely what I want for you. So I hope that stuff helped, and I will see you all again very, very soon.